You've probably heard it. There's an Arctic blast and a big old snowstorm coming to the United States. But is that actually true, or is it just a bunch of fluff? That's what we're going to be going over in today's forecast, while also providing a detailed breakdown of what's actually going to happen. Looking across the United States, you can see we have had some thunderstorms come through, and a little bit more on the backside is about to happen. Believe it or not, we have moisture transport here in the Gulf of Mexico. Zooming in, you can really see these clouds moving up to the north. That is indicating that we have some moisture, some warmth kind of pouring into this area, giving enough instability for thunderstorms and a little bit of severe weather down in this region right here. Jet streams all the way up here, a little curvy. You can see our next storm that could potentially bring some cold air and some snow on the backside is coming in. We'll be talking about that. Could bring a decent area of snow all the way into this region of the United States. So let's go ahead and break it all the way down. Coming over to our future radar. In this forge, you can see that some scattered showers, thunderstorms, and maybe a little bout of severe weather is going to be happening down here in the southern plains, moving up into Arkansas, southern Missouri, and also into parts of Tennessee. We'll go into the higher details in just a moment after we talk about the snow here on the severe weather setup for today. But as I push this forward, you can see that this moisture is eventually going to plume up to the north and go over the freezing line, starting some snow over here at 6 a.m. on the 18th there for Ohio and Indiana. Going further into the future, as we go into 9 a.m., 12 p.m., you can see a little bit of some snow develops on this northern side. It's not a whole lot, but it's going to be enough for some accumulation. And then continuing to push this all the way through, you say at 3 p.m., it gets a little bit stronger, pushing into Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, also Maine. This is a little bit of a heavier snowfall, but it's pretty quick. You can see this system is moving pretty fast. And as we get into 9 p.m., it's pretty much going to be completely out of our hair, with still some impacts expected there in the coastal regions of Maine going into New Hampshire and parts of Massachusetts. And immediately after this storm comes through, we're going to be watching for that Clipper system. Now, this one has kind of downtrended a little bit. It's we're really talking about too much snow in the first place with this storm, but it has kind of downtrended. As you can see, it's not as organized of a system as it was looking before, and then it comes through into Minnesota, parts of Iowa, going into Wisconsin at 12 p.m., then eventually pushes down to the south and east and almost completely dissipates. Before we were talking about this little Clipper system making it all the way down into Virginia, but it looked like that wasn't really a solid signal, and that is kind of dissipated here. So not completely unexpected, given the fact that models change, but yeah, let's go ahead and look at those snow totals and see if we got some big time snow coming. And yeah, not super impressive by any means, and this is not going to cause really any travel issues for any of these areas. So is it a big time snowstorm? No, but we do have some snow coming up in some of these higher elevations here in West Virginia, also going into Pennsylvania. We do have an area of around 3 inches possible there, maybe a little bit of dusting to an inch over there near Pittsburgh, south of Erie, south of Buffalo, maybe another 2 to 3 inches. Going over towards Utica and Albany, 4 to 5 inches. South of Cornwall, another strip of 4 inches possible. Up in the higher elevations, Vermont and New Hampshire, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. Same thing over here near Concord. Up on the New Hampshire, Maine, and Canadian border. Then in Maine itself, we're talking pretty much the entire state having a chance for seeing anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow possible. And that's going to be mainly from our first snowstorm. So again, that's that first one that kind of comes through that rain-snow line, not really too crazy until it gets a little bit stronger here in this area. And then our little Clipper system that's going to be coming back behind that one is going to have a chance to bring some more snow for a lot of the folks that have already gotten some. Unfortunately, we're not really talking about really many new people getting snow, but maybe southern Wisconsin's getting a little bit more snow than they have in the past with some of these other storms. But generally, we're looking at a strip here still, and I would say it's a little bit further to the north and obviously doesn't make it as far down to the south because it dissipates a little bit earlier, but still some snow possible there for Chicago, Madison, and Rochester. Minneapolis, St. Cloud could get up into those 2 to 4 inches, and then also over here near Madison, get anywhere from 1 to 3 inches. Up here near Fargo and Grand Forks, we're talking about 1 to 2 inches being possible, and our heaviest snow is going to be happening at the beginning of this storm. Up here near Minute, where we're talking about anywhere from 4 to 6 inches being possible. So yeah, not a big time snowstorm by any means. And let's back that up with some facts here. So this is the Winter Storm Severity Index. Essentially, what it tells you is what the impacts are going to be like in your area in comparison to your infrastructure. We're looking at today's severity index. We're going to keep this on the right side as a reference. But yeah, over here in North and South Dakota, maybe some winter weather area. winter driving conditions. Drive carefully. So nothing crazy there. We have a little yellow area for some minor impacts. Winter driving conditions. Use caution while driving. Expect a few inconveniences to daily life. Today for the Northeast, just some winter weather areas depicted here. Nothing crazy. No big impacts there whatsoever. So today is definitely not going to have any big time snowstorms. Tomorrow, we do have a little bit of a bigger area for some minor impacts and some isolated spots here of some moderate impacts. Expect disruptions to daily life here in the orange. Very small areas, very isolated, mainly up in some of the higher elevations over here. But the majority of the folks here are going to be feeling minor impacts, a few inconveniences to daily life. Usually when I sound the alarm for big time snowstorms, we're talking about major to extreme impacts. And we just don't have any of that on our map right now. And I feel it's really important to make sure that you try to communicate the impacts of storms in an accurate way. You don't want to freak people out when it's not warranted, because then they won't trust you when it is. It's like, what's that saying? The boy who cried wolf, right? He cries wolf, there's no wolves. He cries wolves, there's no wolves. And then when there's actually wolves, he cries wolves. No one believes him. And then the wolves eat the sheep. Coming over for tomorrow's risks up here in the Northeast and Michigan. You can see that we're just talking winter weather area, pretty much a 0 out of 4 here. And then in the yellow, we have some minor impacts expected in northern New York, in the mountainous regions of Vermont and New Hampshire, going up into Maine, where a few inconveniences could be possible. Now going into day 3, looks like that minor impact area spreads down a little bit further to the south and east, that little clipper system. And you can see a few inconveniences could be possible over here near parts south of Duluth going into Minneapolis over in the central portion of Wisconsin. So yeah, we're expecting some snowfall in this region, but by no means are we expecting anything major, anything dangerous. Just a fun little snowfall for a lot of folks. Absolutely nothing to freak out about. Now we're switching over to the topic of severe weather. As you can see today, we actually have a marginal risk for severe weather. That's going to be for areas like Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Memphis, Jackson as well. It's like Jonesboro is right on the line, but barely inside of that. Also northeastern Texas, like Paris and Texarkana. Northern Mississippi as well. In terms of our tornado risk, we do have a 2% for tornadoes. So tornadoes aren't technically impossible today here in Little Rock, Pine Bluff, Memphis, and Jackson. Basically, a 2% means, say Memphis, since it's in the 2%, this is what it means. You have a 2% chance of a tornado somewhere within the 25-mile radius of where you are. So a 2% of a tornado potentially going like this, or a 2% of a tornado potentially going like that. And if you're really unlucky, a 2% chance of a tornado going really like that. But that's unlucky in comparison to having a 2% chance. Keep in mind, that's a 98% chance you won't see a tornado. Regardless, just be weather aware. You never know. It is technically possible, so just have that in the back of your head as you go throughout the day. Damaging winds across the risk area are also going to be possible. A little 5% chance for that, and a little 5% chance for some quarter-sized hail as well. Breaking down the timing in just a little bit. Before we go into day 2, if you've enjoyed the forecast thus far, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help out the channel. Liking helps us reach more people, and subscribing so you can get more forecasts in the future. Looking at day 2, we actually have another marginal risk out there in a pretty large area where thunderstorms are going to be possible in this light green, but in the dark green over here, we do have another area where we are going to be expecting some chances for severe weather. That's going to be for Jackson, Murfreesboro, Nashville, and Knoxville. Little tornado chance with this over there near Nashville, Dixon, Murfreesboro, as well in parts of northeastern Memphis. Damaging winds will also be possible, a little 5% there for that. And looks like tomorrow's going to be on the low side for hail, not even at 5% for that right now. Going into day 3, there's a little general thunderstorm risk down here in southeastern Florida, but most of the United States should be clear of thunderstorms. Now, hopping into the timing of the severe weather for today and tomorrow, you see, as we go throughout the day today, eventually we're going to start to see some thunderstorms develop late night at around 10 to 11 p.m. there in southeastern Oklahoma going into northern Arkansas. Also, some thunderstorms could be happening as well in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, parts of Kentucky going down into Tennessee at this point. And then continuing to push this forward, you can see we have even more widespread thunderstorm coverage at around 1 a.m., all the way from pretty much south of Indianapolis going into parts of northern Texas as well. And as we go into 2 a.m. tonight, that's going to continue down to the south and east and get a little bit stronger as we get into the morning hours. So if you live over there near Little Rock, Dallas, and Pine Bluff, definitely a solid chance here that you will see some sort of thunderstorm or severe weather activity with this line of storms. Some rain and thunder is also going to be possible near Nashville at this time, going all the way up into Maysville. And then as I push this into the early morning, you see that line kind of consolidates over here near Memphis and Nashville. So make sure you're keeping your eyes on the skies as we go into tomorrow as well, especially early morning when you're traveling to work. Continuing to push this forward, the line still kind of hangs together, but it looks like the southern part of it really starts to fall apart here as we go into 11 a.m. Still with some decent thunderstorms in Tennessee, about to move into northern Alabama by 11 a.m. That moves into Knoxville by 1 p.m. And then you can really see that that line starts to struggle as we go into 4 p.m. Still a couple portions here that could cause some sort of wind issues or maybe even some rain and thunderstorm issues, but so far looking pretty good there. And eventually that kind of dissipates with the last kind of final chances. We might get a little bit of a marginal risk in this region. Some decent thunderstorm activity is popping up there. At the very least, another general thunderstorm risk over here near Greenville as we go into a late night on the 18th and into the 19th early morning. And then you can see those thunderstorms happening or trying to happen over here near Florida as well. So a couple of chances for some severe weather and some general thunderstorms, but in no means is it a big threat or going to be a big problem. All right. So last but not least on our winter weather checklist here is, are we really going to have an Arctic cold blast coming into the United States? Well, let's go find out. All right, pushing this into the 17th here. You can see we do get a little bit of a warm up down here in the southeast with some 50s and 60s returning, eventually turning into 70s as we go into the 18th at 3 p.m. all the way down here, 70s and 80s in parts of southern Florida with 60s to almost 70s and some isolated spots here in the southeast near Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and North Carolina. But look up here. There's your colder air coming into the United States. And pushing this all the way through, you can see that eventually dips down to the south with some potential for a little bit of cooler air. I wouldn't say it's normal. It's not normal. It's definitely a little bit colder than what you guys are used to. Negative 11-degree temperatures up there near Grand Forks and Fargo, but that's like the only area where we're seeing those negative degree temperatures. Really, nobody else is going to be getting into that. It's going to be brief up there in the north, and then eventually we're going to be expecting it to warm back up. But we do have a bit of a cold spell coming for the next couple of days, starting on the 19th, moving into the 20th, all the way for parts of anywhere in these pink is going to be in that, 20s to 30s, getting in these darker colors is in the single digits. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be cooler, but it's by no means an Arctic blast. To prove that, let's go look at the facts. So here's the United States. Let's go up to the Arctic, see how cold it is up there. Yeah, I mean, we're in the negative 30s, negative 22s, negative 6s. All right. So definitely not that cold coming into the United States. I've seen some folks circle this entire area and be like Arctic blast. It's coming for all you guys. No, it's not. It's not an Arctic blast. This is just a little bit of colder air coming in during winter like it always does. Now, in terms of precipitation across the United States, you can see that there is a strip of rain still expected over here. That's going to be with those thunderstorms that comes in. Anywhere from 1 to almost 2 inches is going to be possible down there. Big rainfall, though, it's going to be happening up here in the Pacific Northwest with the potential for some snowfall along the mountainous regions in the Sierra, in the Cascades. So I think the main people that really need to be watching out for some flood threats is going to be up here in the Pacific Northwest. Everywhere else, though, is pretty much dry. I mean, all of this right here is barely any rainfall. Overlaying the drought conditions in this area, you can see that a little bit of drought relief is trying to happen over here near the southeast, but man, it looks like that strip of rain is going to go north of that, which would not really be too helpful for this area of extreme and exceptional drought. Pretty much maxed out there for drought north of Huntsville going into southern Tennessee, but we did get a little bit of rain back in this region, so hopefully that at least knocks out the exceptional drought. But over here, it's going to continue to get drier and drier and drier. Across the Pacific Southwest going into the plains and central plains, I mean, there's not a whole lot of rain coming this week, so I am expecting some of these drought conditions to get worse. But all right, everybody, I do appreciate you guys tuning in, but the moral of the story is weather's going to be fine this week. Nothing really on the radar of any accuracy just yet. You can see a couple of snowstorms could come at the end of December there. But again, that's all the way in La La Land. These models are terrible that far out and getting it right. So we'll keep watching the future weather for you. And if anything sticks out, we'll definitely come back on, give you guys an update. But I do appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Enjoy it, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.